Jay, we're just missing one council member, but at 6, Mr. Skilpert can go ahead and start.
Will do, Jackie. Thank you.
Okay.
We're almost there.
15 seconds till 6, so let's hang on for just a little bit. Okay, this is Tyler Skilpert. I'd like to start, call to order the meeting of the Industrial Development Corporation for January 11th, 2021. And we'll start with a roll call. Tyler Skilpert here.
Jim Grubenhoff here.
Arnold Martin here.
Proceso Guerrero, Mayor Sunnyside here.
Councilor Jim.
Deputy Mayor Ron Strummer here.
I can go ahead and call roll if that's okay.
That'd be great, would you please?
Yes, I can do that. So I have all 3 port commissioners, Arnold Martin, Jim Grubenhoff, and Tyler Skilpert. Councilor Farmer?
Here.
Mayor Guerrero?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Strumler?
Here.
Councilor Henry? Not here. Councilor Restucci?
Here.
Councilor Hicks?
Here.
Councilor Broersma?
Here.
Perfect. Okay, we're ready to move on.
Okay, so we need to start tonight by approving the minutes of the January 13th, 2020 special meeting. And I'm looking for input because I wasn't there, but I read over the minutes. Everything seems to, okay.
I move that we approve the minutes for the January 13th, 2020 special meeting.
This is Councilor Restucci. I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of January 13th, 2020. Anybody opposed to that? Any conversations, any questions? All those in favor of approving the minutes of January 13th, 2020 special meeting, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any negative, any nays? Okay, the meeting has been approved. We'd like to move on to the election of officers for 2021. Do I hear any nominations for president, vice president, and/or secretary?
Grubenhoff nominates Commissioner Martin to be president.
I'll second that. Tyler Skilpert. Any more nominations?
Jackie, did we lose you?
I'm here.
Okay.
Do you want me to do the roll call? I can.
Yeah, ask for if there's any more nominations.
Can the councilman hear me now?
Yes.
Do you guys have any more nominations for president?
I do not. I'm just wondering who has all been nominated so far?
Arnold Martin was nominated and seconded by Jim Grubenhoff, but we're open to other nominations if you guys see fit.
I nominate Tyler Skilpert. This is Deputy Mayor Strummer.
Okay, so we've had nomination of Arnold Martin and Tyler Skilpert. Any more? Okay, I guess it's time to vote.
It's closed. Nomination's closed.
Nominations are now closed. So, how do we do this?
Jackie, can we have you do a call for the votes?
Yes. Can we start with Arnold Martin. So we'll do, I'll do roll call for yes or no on him. Counselor Hicks,
Yes.
Counselor Boersma,
Yes.
Counselor Farmer,
No.
Counselor Restucci,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Stremler,
No.
Commissioner Martin,
No.
Commissioner Grubenoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Skilpruit.
Yes.
Okay, we have 2, 4, 6 yes votes for Commissioner Arnold and 3 no votes.
Okay, then, the way I see it, the new president for the Industrial Development Corporation for 2021 is Commissioner Arnold Martin. And he will now take over the running of the meeting. Oh, wait, we gotta go vice president. Never mind.
Vice
So, do
President
I
and
have-
Secretary.
Okay, so Arnold is gonna take over running the meeting now as the president, so he's gonna just, listen up.
Okay, this is Arnold Martin. I was in favor of Tyler Skillfruit, but I guess that'll be okay. Now open for nominations for vice president.
I nominate Skilproof.
I'd like to nominate Counselor Hicks for Vice President.
Are there other nominations for vice president?
I nominate, Dean Bursma for vice president. So Deputy Mayor Stremler.
Okay, any other nominations? Secretary there. Who's the secretary?
Oh, Jackie.
Jackie.
Are you ready for the roll
Okay,
call?
are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the nominations for vice president. Jackie, who do we have nominated?
We have Skilpruit nominated by Hicks, I believe. Was it Hicks? Can you confirm
Yes.
that, Counselor Hicks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
And then I have Counselor Hicks nominated by Francisco Guerrero. And then I have Dean Broersma nominated by Ron Stremler.
Okay, so we have 3 people nominated for vice president. So Jackie, can you go ahead and do the roll call for the vote on that for me, please?
Okay, so I'll start with Skilpruit. So Counselor Hicks,
Yes.
Counselor Broersma,
Yes.
Counselor Farmer,
No.
Counselor Restucci,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero,
No.
Deputy Mayor Stremler,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Grubenoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Skilpruit.
Yes.
Okay, 2, 4, 6, 7 yes votes and 2 no votes.
You want to have the votes for others, or I can just, he already has the majority of 6-2.
Mm-hmm.
So our new vice president is Tyler Skillproof for 2021. Okay, moving forward, we'll open nominations for secretary.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Grubenoff for Secretary.
I nominate Mayor Guerrero for Secretary.
Okay, any other nominations for, secretary? Okay, any other nominations for secretary? We usually have at least one from the city council. We need one from city council.
Yeah, we probably do. Is anybody?
Okay, any other nominations for secretary?
Has anybody been nominated?
Guerrero was nominated.
Guerrero.
Okay, yep.
Okay, hearing none, the nominations are now closed. Jackie, can you, tell the nominees?
Mr. President, this is Councilor Restucci. Could I address the body just for a second?
I don't think so, not at this present time.
We haven't had any debate, sir, or any discussion on these nominations. And I just want to put something out there. The Sunnyside Industrial Development Corporation is a joint effort between the Port Commission and the City of Sunnyside. One of the bodies should be both bodies should be represented as officers. That's all I want to say.
Okay, good comment.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, since we allowed that discussion, is there any other comments?
This is Mayor Guerrero. I just wanted to prove a point of why I nominated Mr. Grumanoff. Usually the person who gets nominated first seems to get the most votes, and I wanted to prove my point, I guess, that I think we might be skewed in the way we're voting because we're just giving preference to the very first person. But again, Councilor Sushi kind of explained why we have the joint group, and I think my test is going to fail at this point, but we'll give it a try, see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd like to have one more comment if I could.
Okay.
Who's this?
Being we I think are in agreement, somebody from the council should be on the Sunnyside Industrial Development Corporation. Do we want to reopen the nominations to see if there's two council people that should be nominated or not?
I think that I have closed the nominations. I've allowed some comments, and that's good.
Okay.
I don't think that's in the bylaws that they have to be mixed, but it has been kind of an agreed tradition that there will at least be one person from the commission or the city on one of the officers. And if that's your feeling and that's what we have been doing, then I would suggest vote for Councilor, one of the Guerrero from the city. Any other comments? Okay, Jackie, can you go ahead and call the vote?
Okay, so we're voting on Francisco Guerrero. So Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Boersma,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Restucci,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Stremler,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Grubanoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Skillfruit,
Yes.
we have 9 yes votes.
Okay, with that, that's a unanimous vote. So, City Council Guerrero is the secretary for the Industrial Development Corporation for 2021. I do not see anything else on the agenda. So I guess I'm just going to ask for comments, or if there's some special business we might need to look into. Okay, hearing no extra comments in. It is 6:14 p.m. and I will adjourn the meeting for the Industrial Development Corporation of Sunnyside. thank you all for being part of the meeting. Okay,
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Council members, if you want to stay on the line, you can. You can hang up or just call the same number. The information is the same for both meetings.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Chief.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. We're just we had a SIDC meeting and so we're just on hold for now.
Quorum. Please allow one person to speak at a time. I will call on every member to make sure you have had an opportunity to ask any questions. I will now ask our city clerk Renteria to start a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Guerrero,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Stremler,
Here.
Councilor Farmer,
Here.
Councilor Henry,
Here.
Councilor Restucci,
Here.
Councilor Hicks,
Here.
Counselor Burisma,
Here.
City Manager Casey,
Here?
City Clerk Renteria, I am here. Finance Director Alba,
Excused.
Fire Chief Anderson,
I'm here.
Police Chief Escalera,
Here.
Public Works Director Fisher.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, everyone's here. So first up, we have a proclamation for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I'll read this into the record. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Devoted his life to the advancement of civil rights and public service, he believed in a nation of freedom and justice for all, and challenged all citizens to help build a more perfect union and live up to the purpose and potential of America. And whereas Dr. King's teachings can continue to guide and inspire us in addressing challenges in our communities, and the King Holiday and Service Act, enacted in 1994, designated the King Holiday as a national day of volunteer service. And whereas since 1994, millions of Americans have been inspired by the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to serve their neighbors and communities on the King Holiday. And serving on the King Holiday is an appropriate way to honor Dr. King, meet local and national needs, bring our citizens together, and strengthen our communities and nations. And whereas the King Day of Service is the only federal holiday commemorated as a national day of service, and offers an opportunity for Americans to give back to their communities on the holiday and make an ongoing commitment to service throughout the year. And whereas each of us can and must contribute to making our communities better, the City of Sunnyside is actively involved in promoting and preserving racial equality, a peaceful community, and accessible opportunities by all citizens. And now therefore, I, Francisco Guerrero, Mayor of the City of Sunnyside, Washington, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Washington, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim January 18th, 2021 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the City of Sunnyside. Okay, thank you everyone for entertaining that proclamation. And up next we have scheduled public comments. Mr. City Manager, did we receive any public comments from our citizens?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I did not receive any written comments in advance, and I'll inquire of the clerk if we've received any requests since last we talked for scheduled comment tonight.
We did not receive any.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hearing no takers on public comment, we'll move on to our consent agenda, which consists of the approval minutes for the December 14th, 2020 regular meeting, the minutes for the December 29th, 2020 special meeting, approval of payroll vouchers numbers 118847 through 118854, and wire transfers as listed for $422,654.60 for the period ending on December 10th, 2020. Payroll vouchers numbers 118855 through 1188,589, and wire transfers as listed for $556,411.56 for the period ending on December 24th, 2020. Claim voucher numbers 100381 through 100419, and wire transfers as listed for $78,884.58 for the period ending on December 16th, 2020. Claim vouchers number 100420 through 100446, and wire transfers as listed for $197,005.35 for the period ending on December 23rd, 2020. Claim voucher numbers 100447 through 100480, wire transfers as listed for $105,196.62 for the period ending on December 30th, 2020. Claim vouchers numbers 100481 through 100516, wire transfers as listed for $103,119.72 for the period ending on January 6th, 2021. Claim voucher numbers 100517 through 100529, wire transfers as listed for $21,860.75 for the period ending on January 6th, 2021. Any council members wish to pull an agenda item from the consent agenda?
I would
Okay.
move to approve.
Okay, moved to approve by Councilor Henry.
Second that. Counselor Broersma.
Thank you. So the motion by Councilor Hicks, seconded by Councilor Boersma to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any debate on this item? Hearing no debate, the city clerk will now start the roll call.
Counselor Hicks,
Yes.
Counselor Broersma,
Yes.
Counselor Farmer,
Yes.
Counselor Henry,
Yes.
Counselor Restucci,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Stremler.
Yes.
Mayor, you have 7 yes votes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Council. Up next, we have our active agenda, which first item is Yakima Valley Conference of Governments, selection of primary and alternate delegates to the YV COG. I know last year we had Councilor Broersma be our primary, I was a secondary. So we have other individuals interested. This is a great group of people to be involved in, so it's a great experience. So if somebody wants to be a primary, please speak up and we'll see if we have several individuals interested. If not, Councilor Broersma, will you still be interested in being the primary?
I would, yes.
Excellent, okay. And anybody interested in being a secondary for this group?
I would be the secondary on that. This is Councilor Henry.
All right. So Councilor Broersma for our primary point of contact for the YV-COG, and second will be Councilor Henry. Without any objection, well, we have our primary and secondary. Thank you. Okay, up next we have our Yakima Valley Conference of Governments YV-COG Executive Committee. Selection of representatives to the YV-COG Executive Committee. I think in the past that Councilor Restucci, you've been our primary contact for that. Is that correct?
Correct, Mr. Mayor. I've served now for 5 terms, 10 years as YV-COG chair. I have 1 more year left on the chairmanship and would appreciate council support to allow me to continue to serve as the exec committee member.
Thank you. Is there anyone else interested in this position? Okay, hearing none. Councilor Restucci, thank you for being our representative there. And unless hear an objection, hearing no objection, you are our representative. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council, for your support.
Okay, up next we have our Driving Rural Yakima Valley Economy, selection of primary and alternate representatives to the Drive Committee. Last year, I don't recall who was our primary. I believe it was Councilor Broersma, is that correct?
Sir, I actually think you were the primary and I was the alternate.
Alternate? Okay, so is there anyone else interested in being this? Again, this is a good group. Lately, it's been meeting through Zoom, and last couple of years when I attended, it was in person, and it's good information. It gives you a good insight as to some of the funding available through the state, through Washington State Department of Transportation. There's usually people from the senator's office there, representative, and it's a good group to be in to kind of understand some of the funding sources and limitations that maybe the state has to the Department of Transportation. So it looks like Driving Rural, yeah, Deputy Mayor Stremler was our rep for last year, and Councilor Henry was our secondary. Thank you, Jackie, for bringing it up to the screen. So we do have those. Is someone else interested in this one? Again, they meet usually not as frequently lately because of obviously limitations, but it's more likely to be Zoom most of it this year. I don't remember exactly what dates they were, but they are pretty interesting.
Mr. Mayor, I could probably add a few items to that. As the State Transportation Commissioner for Yakima County, I serve on the Drive Committee and the Transaction Committee. And you should probably let people know that Drive and Transaction have been meeting together as one joint meeting. Transaction covers the Upper Valley, Drive covers the Lower Valley, but they do the same functions just for different cities and different jurisdictions. Yes,
thank you for that. And we voted in the Drive group, not the not the the other one. But yes, thank you for the clarification. Definitely helpful. So last we had Deputy Mayor Stremler. Is there anyone else might be interested in kind of learning what this committee does?
This is Counselor Henry. I'll take the reins on that one, or I'll remain the second if Mr. Stremler doesn't want to continue to do it.
Councilor Deputy Mayor Stremler, would you like to be a secondary?
I don't plan on living in town here that much longer, so I would prefer someone else be.
Okay, so if we don't get nobody else, we'll put you down as secondary, and then depending on what happens, then we'll fill in that position. But at least we'll have Councilor Henry be a primary point of contact for that meeting. Would that be okay, Deputy Mayor Stremler?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else interested?
Mayor Guerrero, if no one else will take secondary, I'll take secondary on that.
Okay. Councilor. All right, Deputy Mayor Stremler, you're off the hook. Councilor Hicks wants to learn how this committee works. So thank you, Councilor Hicks, for joining us on that group. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Okay, without objection, we have our primary and secondary for the drive committee. Thank you. Up next, we have our Yakima County Solid Waste Advisory Group. We have, I was on it probably, I guess I'm still on it. I'm still at the primary, and we haven't met for the past, I think, 2 years. Usually, I think every 4 years, there's a plan that gets updated. And I participated in the last update that happened. And it was, again, very informative, very interesting. We, I think, only met like 3 times for the whole, 4-year span. So we didn't meet a lot at all last year or the year before. So if somebody's interested, again, it meets minimally, and it's good information when you do have to meet. But it's basically Yakima Waste setting rates and for tipping fees and planning for the future for their growth and a few other things. So if somebody's interested, please speak up, and we'll get you on that group.
Mr. Mayor, I'll add a few there, just a few minute comments.
Please.
Commissioner Leda was the chair of that group, and commissioners have already they've done their breakdown of committees, and I believe Amanda McKinney is going to be the chair of the new group.
Perfect. All right. If I don't hear nominations, I don't mind staying on it. Again, hasn't met for the last couple of years, so it's very a minimal commitment for this group. So unless someone else is interested, I'll stay on it and see what happens in the next year.
Mayor, if you mind, this is Councilor Henry. You can put my name on that one too as well.
Okay.
I've also been wanting to jump on that one, so this is my chance. I'll take it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, Yakima Regional Storm. Yakima County Solid Waste Advisory Group. Councilor Henry, without any objection, we have Councilor Henry on this working group. Thank you very much. All right, up next we have our Countywide Planning and Policy Committee. Selection of a representative to the Countywide Planning and Policy Committee. I've never been on this one. I'm not quite sure what to expect. Councilor Restucci, do you recall what this is about?
Yes, sir. I've served on it for a number of years. When the Planning Commission, at one point, the city of Yakima and the county had one joint planning commission, and then they decided to break that commission. And when they did, the county had no planning commission, and so it had to come up with a way to involve the cities in the planning process. And so they created the Countywide Planning and Policy Committee. I'm not sure if that committee is going to stay alive because the county now has a planning commission again. And so doesn't the city of Yakima. So I'm not sure. It hasn't been active in a number of years. The last meeting I attended, Mike Leda was the commissioner. So I'm not quite sure if it's going to meet again or not, but I'm more than happy to serve on the Countywide Planning and Policy Committee for the council if they meet.
Okay, is there any other volunteers? Okay, hearing none, and without objection, our Councilor Restucci will be our rep for this Countywide Planning and Policy Committee. Thank you, Councilor Restucci.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, up next we have our Sunnyside United Unidos selection of representative to Sunnyside United Unidos. Jackie, who was our rep for this one last year?
Deputy Mayor Stremler.
Deputy Mayor Stremler, okay. Deputy Mayor, do you want to take it on, and then depending on what happens, we might put somebody else on there, or do you want somebody else to try to take the reins on this one? Councilor Farmer, might you be interested?
I would take it if nobody else wanted it.
Okay, we'll see if anybody else might be interested in this one. If not, Councilor Farmer is willing to represent us there. Okay, hearing no others, then Councilor Farmer, without objection, you will be our rep for the Sunnyside United Unidos. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, our agenda item is a Swan Road Water Main Improvement Bid Award. Consider awarding the Swan Road Water Main Improvement contract to Tri-Valley Construction, Inc., and to authorize the city manager to sign and execute an agreement with Tri-Valley Construction, Inc. in the amount of $53,764.56. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is a project that we first brought to your attention in 2020. We were advised last year that there was a incident where a contractor exposed a water main on private property during the summer while they were undertaking construction on a residential lot development. The main had been placed there, according to an easement about 25 years ago, but because of the slope and the depth of it, it was going to create a problem for them to be able to continue trying to complete their development of that site. Staff brought to council a proposal from our contracted engineering firm to essentially relocate and reposition this water main in a way that's more suitable for that area. And in October, council authorized us to go forward, entering into an agreement with HLA Engineering to execute the task order to complete design work and to prepare to put the construction project out to bid as a public work. In December, just before the holidays, we received 10 bids on the project, which was very pleasing. Construction had been somewhat challenging to get good bids in last year at times, and so to get 10 bids on this was very well received. And we had a low bid come in, as shown on your packet, of just over $53,000, which is about 25% below the engineer's estimate. So we were very pleased with the pricing we got on that. The full bid review sheet is available to you in your packet from HLA, and we're recommending moving forward at this time. And Public Works Director Fisher is also on the Zoom meeting if council has any specific questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. We'll do go down the list and see if there's any questions or comments on this item. Councilor Restucci.
No questions or comments this time, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councilor Henry.
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Broersma.
Yeah, just one. What's the expected timeline to get this project started if this is approved tonight?
Director Fisher, can you speak to the schedule that the contractor has proposed?
Yeah, we're looking at the first week of February.
Is that for completion or for commencing?
Oh, I'm sorry, for it to start. And it's about a 10-day project.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Farmer.
No questions.
Deputy Mayor Stremler. Okay, we'll come back to Deputy Mayor. Councilor Hicks?
No question.
Okay, and I don't have any questions. So I'll try one more time. Deputy Mayor Stremler, questions or comments on this item?
Sorry, I was on mute. No questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, I hear no additional questions. What is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve. This is Jim
I'll
Restucci.
second it.
Okay, motion by Restucci, second by Deputy Mayor Stremler. Is that what I heard?
Correct.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so motion by Deputy Mayor's, motion by Councilor Restucci, second by Deputy Mayor Stremler to award the Swan Road Water Main Improvement Contract to Tri-Valley Construction, Inc., and to authorize the city manager to sign and execute an agreement with Tri-Valley Construction, Inc., the amount of $53,764.56. The city clerk will now start the roll call vote, please.
Counselor Restucci,
Yes.
Counselor Henry,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Counselor Boersma,
Yes.
Counselor Farmer,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Stremler,
Yes.
Counselor Hicks.
Yes.
Mayor, you have 7 yes votes.
Motion passes. Thank you, Jackie. Up next, we have executive session for 10 minutes, RCW 42.30.140, parentheses 4, parentheses A, collective bargaining session with employee organization, including contract negotiations, grievance meetings, and discussions related to the interpretation of application of a labor agreement. Possible action. The city clerk, could you place the guests on our
Mayor, I've let everybody back in and the recording has started again.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, you are still on mute.
Thank you. Surprised I hadn't done it once before already. So this was my one and only for tonight, hopefully. Thank you. Okay, up next we have our Teamsters Local Union number 760 Public Works. Consider approving a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a new collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters Local Union number 760 Public Works Unit for the period ending January 1st, 2021 through December 31, 2023. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We're here before you this evening requesting council's approval of a new collective bargaining agreement for the next 3 years with our Public Works Teamsters unit. The proposed CBA includes an overall cost of living increase of 2% for 2021, which was already provided for in the 2021 budget that was adopted by council in December of 2020. There are some other adjustments included for pay incentives and health benefits and the incentive structure for our wastewater plant operators to bring them a little closer into parity with other such positions in similar cities. The net effect of the adjustments in 2021 of these adjustments will be under $2,000 spread across 5 different funds: water, sewer, garbage, stormwater, and general fund. Make sure I was counting up to 5. There are some other clarifying changes that both parties negotiated and agreed to in the furtherance of better administration of the contract, but most articles have remained unchanged. We've been advised that the bargaining unit members have voted in favor of ratification already. So if approved this evening by council, we'll present an amendment to our 2021 classification and compensation schedule to reflect those changes at a future meeting. We recommend it for your approval and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. We will now go down our list and see if there are any questions or comments on this item. Councilor Boersma.
No questions, sir.
Councilor Restucci.
No questions, sir.
Deputy Mayor Stremler.
No questions.
Councilor Hicks.
No question.
Councilor Henry.
No questions, sir.
Councilor Farmer.
No questions.
And no questions from me either. So what is the desire of council on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a new collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters Local Union Number 760 Public Works Unit for the period January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. This is Councilor Restucci.
I will second that. This is Councilor Boersma.
A motion by Councilor Restucci, second by Councilor Boersma to approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a new collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters Local Union Number 760 Public Works Unit for the city for the period ending January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. The city clerk will now start the roll call vote, please.
Councilor Boersma,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Councilor Restucci,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Stremler,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Henry,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer.
Yes.
Mayor, you have 7 yes votes.
And motion passes. Thank you, Jackie. And that is our action for our executive session, in case anybody was wondering. Up next, we have our Catholic Charities Upsizing Agreement Amendment. Discuss the current upsizing agreement and new information regarding the Catholic Charities lift station. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I'll probably turn this one over to Public Works Director Fisher fairly quickly, but I just wanted to introduce it by acknowledging that we've identified a really potentially exciting opportunity to leverage a project that council's already seen and that we were moving forward with, but with further analysis and investigation in partnership with the contractor and the builder, may have a really viable option for upsizing this lift station further that we're talking about. And by doing so, being able to eliminate an existing older lift station that would require the city to maintain, and even open up the opportunity to tie in some other lift stations in the future. And so we're trying not just to look at the problem in front of us and kind of the immediate short-term solution, but take a look at this in context more systemically and see if we can't, by making an additional modest investment now, provide benefits to the city in cost savings and operational efficiency in the long term as well. So just to remind council, in 2019, Catholic Community Charities Housing Services came forward to the city to propose a housing development off of Allen Road. As part of that, there was a need identified for bringing in a sewer lift station. That was approved and that process went forward. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic and development or construction community disruptions have slowed them down a bit, but they are still determined and committed to moving forward. In December of last year, their construction and engineering teams met with city staff and wanted to discuss the possibility of using this project as a way to eliminate the lift station at Outpost Truck Plaza. And that's about 1,000 feet to the east. Importantly, they determined that we could gravity flow that area, which is more cost effective, and then eliminate that other lift station, which would relieve the city of the obligation of maintaining and maintenance and renewal going forward. But there are still a number of variables that the team are looking at. So the purpose tonight is to just introduce this topic to council, have the Public Works Director give you a little more background and detail on the ideas under consideration, and then with the intent of giving council a chance to ask questions, make sure that we're considering all of the relevant considerations, and then potentially bring it back to council for action at a future meeting. So with that, I'll kick it over to Director Fisher to kind of pick up the ball from there, and then we'll open up for council questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. No, you did a great job explaining that and getting me started here. So really what happened, we were ready to move forward with the project, and we started looking at having 2 lift stations so close in proximity that we had decided to maybe look at possibly gravity feeding one station into the other, vice versa. And so PLSA and Granite Construction went out and actually took shots, the invert shots, which is that's a survey shot to see if you can get positive flow from one manhole to the next. In this case, they looked at about 5 lift stations, and it appears that we have not only the lift station at Outpost Truck Plaza that we can turn into basically a manhole and gravity feed basically everything from the east of SR 241, Picard Place, the movie theater, AMPM, Burger King, all that along there will now all be gravity fed into that manhole and eventually into the new Catholic Charities lift station. The benefit is just as Martin had explained, obviously ongoing maintenance, the replacement of lift stations. They run about $250,000 for a new one. We saw this as an opportunity also north of this development. So if you're looking at this first exhibit here, the green piping, that is the new subdivision. So the northernmost part of the pipe that's shown on there in green, actually the bigger picture that we will bring to council at a later date is to actually cross Sulphur Creek Wasteway and pick up about 4 more lift stations along Lincoln. They can be gravity fed all into this one lift station at the Catholic Charities. So currently what we're doing with Granite and with PLSA is we're trying to figure out, obviously, just the Catholic Charities project. Right now we're just focused on them to get them up and going. So the original $50,000 that we had planned to put in is our portion, our contribution to this project, was because really the way this was set up is this lift station for Catholic Charities was only really going to serve them in the small little manufactured home park that's just west of them. Other than that, everything else got served by the lift station at the Outpost Truck Plaza. So our contribution, obviously, there is this small subdivision that's proposed to go in. And so that was directly proportional to how much money we wanted to put in towards that. Now that the lift station can now be removed from Outpost, and we're now serving a much larger portion of the community in that commercial area, also portions of East Allen Road where C-Specs, where their dealerships are at, and that all crosses White Beach and all comes into this same area. So we started looking at the possibility that we obviously, if this is serving the city more than just what the original proposal was, then there obviously is going to be a larger contribution that I feel that the city probably needs to put towards this project. It does save us time, money, maintenance, and like I said earlier, potentially rebuilding a lift station, if not multiple. So we don't know what that number looks like yet. We're still waiting to hear back from PLSA and Granite Engineering, Granite Construction on what that's actually going to cost and what our contribution will be. Tonight, we wanted to sit down and kind of talk about this, get it in front of you, so you guys have an idea of kind of what we want to do. And with that, I can take any questions. I want to go to the next exhibit here in a minute, but if I'll take questions right now on this first exhibit if there's any questions on the original layout from council.
Council, questions for our Public Works Director, Fisher?
I just have one question. Several.
Okay, we'll start with
go ahead,
Councilor.
Mr. Stratton.
Actually, we'll go down the list. That way we won't be talking about each other. So let's just, let me just go with Councilor Boersma.
I don't have any at this time, but I will have several a little later on.
Thank you. Councilor Restucci?
Same here, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Stremmler?
What we're looking at, are we looking at increasing the size of the lift station that's going in from what we originally talked, or is it already designed large enough to handle all this?
The original design was not adequate to take in another lift station. It was basically designed to be a standalone system, and maybe if something ever would develop to the east of the subdivision and this big wide open, right now it's a pasture. If something were to go in there, then it would have the capacity to take that. But that would be, it could take a little bit more than that, but it would not be able to take everything we're talking about to the east, which is out there where movie theaters at, C-Specs, Burger King and whatnot. And nor would it be able to take the other 4 lift stations coming into it. So it's going to be substantially larger. The wet well capacity will probably go from, I think originally we had an 8-foot wet well. It's an 8-foot diameter concrete barrel, 20 feet deep. And we're probably looking at putting in a 12-foot diameter wet well, 25 feet deep. So it's substantially more capacity. But like I said earlier, it's also going to take, the lift stations from future development and existing flows as they currently stand.
And it sounds good to me. The other thing I'm just kind of curious about is what's the offset on electricity? I realize if an electric is going to be higher, but we're eliminating the power on, like we just say, 4 lift stations, which is quite a bit also, I assume. Is there also going to be an energy savings on top of this, do you know?
Yeah, there will be. A lift station runs, depending on the size of the pumps, but generally a tandem 5-horse pump lift station. Generally, your utility bills are anywhere from $200 to $300 a month per lift station. So you're not seeing a big savings in the electricity part of it. The bigger savings you're seeing in the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance, replacement of probes and pumps and motors and the telemetry and panels, things like that. That's where you see your big maintenance costs.
Yeah, that was really all I have. Thank you.
Councilor Hicks?
No questions at this time.
Councilor Henry?
The question I had was, you said as of right now we have 2 lift stations that are out, or was it just 1?
Well, we have one existing one. So on the first exhibit map here, it says original proposal. You see the red line with the little arrows on it. That's the outpost lift station. That one is currently in use. The other lift station is a little bit further to the west in green, and that's the new lift station. So the plan is.
You say we needed to have. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What's your question?
My question was, didn't you say we had a lift station that was in need of repair right now? Or am I wrong on that?
The one at Outpost Truck Plaza is due for repairs right now. It's been due for a while, and that's kind of part of that's one of the puzzle pieces we have in this scenario is that they were on the Outpost Truck Plaza ownership was actually not sure what the dollar amount is, but they were slated to go in and do some lift station work on their lift station that was part of the original obligation when they built that, the Green Olive and that little, the streets there at Covey, Quail, and all that. And they had just never done the work. And so that needs to be, currently as it stands now, new pumps and rails, a new check valve, and a new panel need to be installed in that lift station currently.
Is that currently the work that's happening over there on Yakima Valley Highway, over there by the tracks, all the digging and stuff? Is that part of that? Is that what's happening over there right now?
I'm not sure where that's at.
Just right across the street there. It seems there's a bunch of digging happening on the track side of it. I was just curious if that had something to do with the lift station over there. But
Not that I'm
apparently it
aware.
doesn't.
Yeah, if there's something going on at YVH, I'm not aware of it. It's nothing to do with this project.
Okay, I was curious if that had something to do with this project, with the outlook. And that was what my question was. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Farmer?
No.
All right, Shane, ready to move on?
Okay, so if we go to the next exhibit, Jackie, so this is, obviously it looks a little bit different. So obviously the red line now, you can see the jog in the red line. So this would basically be turning the old lift station into a new manhole. We would cross over Allen Road to the north, set a manhole, and then go west and lay that pipe in and connect to the very first manhole that comes into the new subdivision there for Catholic Charities. So basically the sewer comes up into the Catholic Charities, and this is really hard on a Zoom in. It really is. These are tough doing presentations over the phone. So the sewer basically comes up into the subdivision, turns left, it comes back down and goes into the lift station, goes back out under Allen Road and reconnects back into the force main that goes to the wastewater treatment plant. So basically what we're doing is we're taking a section of this pipe out, replacing the lift station with a new manhole, and gravity feeding everything in that area and tying it back into the force main. The other advantage is at the top of this exhibit, you can see the blue piping. And the reason why I didn't show it all is because otherwise we wouldn't be able to read this map. But this is the blue piping at the top. This is where the force main will, or the gravity main will cross Sulphur Creek. And we'll obviously have to get crossing permits with SVID. But once we cross the creek, there's 4 more lift stations. There's Pioneer School, there's one at Walmart, there's one on the corner of 241 and Factory Road, and one on the corner of Factory Road and Yakima Valley Highway. So all those grades have been checked out. The math works. We can get rid of all those lift stations and gravity feed all that all the way back down into these Catholic Charities. We'll make this pipe that comes down here. It was originally set for 8-inch. We're going to make it 18-inch. It's got to be large, and it'll tie back, you hear gravity feed all the way back into the new Catholic Charities lift station, and then get pumped back into the force main to the wastewater treatment plant. So we don't currently know what the numbers look like yet, that's why we wanted to come tonight and kind of share this with council, kind of get you up to speed a little bit. And then we'll come back in a couple of weeks at the next regular meeting, and hopefully we'll have figures by then, and we can sit down and have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation about the city's contribution to this project, as well as the bigger, larger project of getting rid of some lift stations in Sunnyside. So with that, I can take any more questions.
Okay, council, questions or comments on this discussion? Councilor Restucci, Boersma, did you guys have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, are you going to read down the list, or do you just want us to jump in?
You know what, let me do down the list, just in case there's quite a few questions that we're not talking to each other. Thank you. We'll start with Councilor Boersma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess my question is, I have one big one that I'm concerned about, and we're talking about adding in an awful lot of territory into this lift station. And I know you talked about moving up from an 8-inch pipe to an 18-inch pipe to cover all of the existing use coming in. Does this contemplate also any future development? Because in this area comprised of this whole area that we've talked about, there's a lot of undeveloped property, farmland or whatever. And sometime in the future, we could see this developed. I want to make sure that we've got enough capacity to handle any development, whether it be somewhere between Lincoln and Allen Road, or over on East Allen Road, or even in Picard Place and those areas. are we planning to have enough capacity to handle all of that potential development?
We are, and that's why there was such a big increase in that main trunk line from 8 to 18. That is I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, Dean, but that's an exponentially larger pipe than and the volume and capacity that you have there. Not to mention the wet well and the new lift station going from an 8-foot diameter to a 12-foot diameter and being 25 feet deep adds a tremendous amount of capacity. And now we'll still go through these numbers, and that's kind of what PLSA is working on. Of course, once we get those numbers from PLSA, we will sit down with our engineers with HLA, and we will go through all those to make sure that everything checks out, between the two firms. And but yeah, that is being planned for.
Okay, because that's always been my concern, Shane, is that thinking long-term down the road, 20 years in the future, 30 years in the future, the excavation is incredibly expensive. And if we have a chance to do it now, I'd sure like to get that taken care of beforehand and just think long-term. So thank you for your answer.
I agree. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Restucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd have to echo the sentiments of my colleague, Councilor Broersma. When we did the downtown core revitalization, we made sure that we dug only once. I think it's important that if we are going to do something like this, that we are looking at the capacity issue. So I appreciate you bringing that comment up.
Deputy Mayor Stremler.
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Councilor Hicks.
No questions.
Councilor Henry.
No questions. Thank you.
Councilor Farmer.
No questions.
And I just have one question. So obviously there's going to be some numbers associated with this. And I think Deputy Mayor Stremler brought up the fact that we probably would be having some cost savings on some maintenance on some other lift stations and electricity costs. Will there be a breakdown on potential cost savings and costs associated with this larger upgrade, Shane, that you have in mind?
Well, yeah, we could break it by lift station. I think would probably be, to give you guys an idea of what the ongoing maintenance, and we can pick, maybe we can do 5, 10, and 20 year, just to kind of give you an idea of what we'd look at for maintenance for each one of those lift stations that we're looking at potentially removing. And we can do some sort of a comparative analysis and take a look at the maintenance for each one of those, opposed to, that same volume of that same capacity for a gravity system. We can look at it that way. We can look at, the one system versus, the other, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be too complicated, too detailed. More of a rough estimate of what you think is going to be. Obviously, some of the cost savings. We're talking long term. This is going to be in there for a long time. So if we do even 10, 20 years, just a couple of different markers, and that way we have an idea what our contribution is going to be if we don't do the upgrade, and what our contribution is if we do the upgrade versus the cost savings. So that gives a better picture of our overall contribution from the city. And I think that will be beneficial for us to work with numbers to visualize that dollar amount.
Okay.
That's the only question I had. So, or I guess suggesting if you have time to get those numbers for when you are ready for that. So, all right. So that's the discussion. Anything else you want to add, Mr. City Manager, to this?
No, thank you. I appreciate council's comments and suggestions, and Director Fisher's work with the rest of the team in bringing this idea forward.
All right, Council. So we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is items from. Thank you, Shane, for bringing this forward and the explanation on those questions that we had. I appreciate it. Okay. So up next we have our items from council members, mayor's appointments for boards and commissions. Boards and commissions appointments. So first up we have, well, I guess this is a big one, the LTAC. 2020 we had Councilor Broersma. Is there anyone else interested, or if Councilor Broersma is still interested in continuing on this board? our committee?
Actually, I find myself enjoying this board quite a bit there, Mr. Mayor, and if nobody else objects, I would be more than happy to do that another year.
Excellent. Okay, anyone else interested? Okay, here no one else. Councilor Bergman, thank you, and you'll be our rep for 2021.
Thank you, sir.
The Arts Commission, it looks like you were our representative as well. Actually, I have two different ones. So the Arts Commission, I think Councilor Henry was on there.
Yes, it should be Councilor Henry for Arts Commission for 2020.
Thank you, Jackie. Councilor Henry, you still interested?
Yes, I am very interested in that very much. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, anyone else? Okay, hearing no one else, Councilor Henry, you'll be our rep for the Arts Commission. Thank you very much. And the Airport Advisory Board, looks like 2020, Councilor Restucci was part of that group. Are you still interested, Councilor?
I am very much so, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, is there anyone else interested in this one? Okay, hearing no one else, we'll have our Councilor Restucci be part of the Airport Advisory Board. Thank you, Councilor Restucci.
Thank you, sir.
And for the subcommittee appointments, I don't think no one really met last year. So unless there's an objection, we'll keep them the same. And if we need to meet, we'll meet. And if we don't, then we won't. So if there's any objection to keeping the same for 2021, please let me know. If not, we'll keep them as they are for 2020. Okay, hearing no objection, we'll keep all the subcommittee appointments the same as 2020. Again, if you do meet, please send up the report to the whole body of council, and we'll see what you guys met about. And if not, then as needed, we'll meet on these different subcommittees. All right, thank you very much. So no objection, we'll keep them the same. Up next, we have our council request status report. Mr. City Manager. I think you're muted, Mr. City Manager.
There we go. Thank you, sir. Since a few of these are still kind of in the public works arena, some of them are weather dependent, so not much activity or updates over the winter. That's going to be the case with the parking project. We had looked at trying to get REIT funds, but in order to use those funds, we have to get our comp plan updated. We are hard at work on getting the comp plan updated so that we'll be able to move forward on that. Tree replacement plan, as we've shared with you, Public Works is going to be working over the next couple of months to put together some ideas and get council's input on tree species and an overview of what we'd like to do in the downtown core in particular. So that'll be coming later. Probably won't see any activity on that for a few more meetings. We had updated on the safety situation with guardrails up on the hill. There's a couple of areas that are being looked at. And I think the last update, we have received a cost proposal from HLA on a safety plan. This is something that we're required to have adopted before we can submit a grant application to the State Department of Transportation's safety program. We've received that proposal. Shane, remind me, I think it was under 15,000, if I remember correctly. And it's actually a pretty robust proposal, and we've seen some comparable plans that they've done for other cities. It's a pretty substantial body of work, which I think we're planning to try to bring back to council for consideration at a future meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct. And the quote we got was 17,000.
17,000. Okay. So we'll be bringing that for council's consideration as part of that strategy, so that we can then qualify for the funding, because this will be several $100,000 in investment in safety along some of these slopes along Crescent and Riverside Drive. But definitely want to move forward with that as we have the funding, as we can obtain the funding. Let's see. Next, we have an update on what's happening. Homeless. There's right, moving some paper around. At this point, city staff, the main area that we're still getting complaints has to do with the presence of the 2 homeless residents at the city's parking lot downtown. We are continuing to seek to maintain safe conditions and clean conditions there. Unfortunately, we've been advised that the rehousing efforts by the social services agencies working with the pair have been unsuccessful to date. Police have maintained increased patrols in the area to try to substantiate the allegations of criminal activity, and code enforcement has met with the residents periodically, essentially every week, and posted trash cleanup notices as needed. As council is well aware, this is an area of very tricky law. The courts have been clear that unless a community has enough accessible shelter beds, cities may not enforce their ordinances in ways that effectively bar unsheltered people from living in public spaces. I have asked our attorneys, is there a path how we can lawfully proceed with action to remove the vehicles under current case law? We know that we must provide ample notice of any property seizure and arrange at our cost for the storage and return of their personal belongings, and that the vehicles cannot be permanently held at a tow yard or sold at auction, and that the costs of removal and then return and relocation of those vehicles will likely be borne by the city. We have met with the attorneys already this year to kind of continue our exploration of possible legal strategies. We've also been advised that multiple organizations are monitoring local government actions for potential litigation. So we're hoping to finalize a strategy soon. And those are but that's as I said, the main site at which, or about which we've received any complaints in the last few, since the council's last meeting. The chief on fire department residency, the volunteer program, we just submitted to council a monthly status report today. Chief, I don't know if you want to add anything at this point, other than that construction is getting underway, which is good. Good news. See, oh, did he have to leave the call? No, he's muted. I think that's the basic update, is that the construction has gotten underway for the residential volunteer quarters.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted. That's correct. A couple things. I had to reach out to the architects. There's a couple little things that we need potentially fine-tuned, but other than that, the contractors started the project.
Great. And the last report we've had is that Finance Director Alba is going to get an update on her medical leave, I believe this Wednesday, the 13th. And so we're hopeful that she'll be able to re-engage at least part-time or remotely. And we'll have one of the first tasks that we want to have her do is revisit the analysis that she had done last year on credit card transaction fees and make sure we get the correct information on that question to council. And that's our report on the existing items.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Council, if you need to add an item, please reach out to City Manager, myself, and we'll see what we can do about getting it added to the council request status report. Okay, up next we have other reports, announcements, and/or questions by council. Council members, anyone wants to report anything or make an announcement or any questions?
I could make a comment here.
Okay, Councilor Borsma, go right ahead.
Okay, so a couple of things. I've had meetings with a couple of business owners in town, and I've been commented to by a couple of community members that they are very much aware of our new sales tax for our transportation benefit district and are eagerly looking forward to see what we are going to do with that, as am I. I'm looking forward to the projects. But I guess it's good for all of us to be aware that our community is watching us and seeing what we're going to do with that. Secondly, and this is more of an observation or, think about this. And before I go any further, I want to say, yes, I am aware that we do have a pandemic going on, and I do not in any way want to put anybody at greater risk. However, I have noticed that the private sector has managed to be able to interact with their clientele in a safe manner. They put up plexi shields in between their tellers or cashiers and the public. And there haven't been any real outbreaks. I've seen this being done at banks, at hardware stores, at grocery stores, many other places. Yet I'm seeing that at City Hall, we still expect community members to step into a breezeway one at a time and pay their water bills there. I'm wondering, is it possible for us to allow the public into that lobby in order to pay those bills? It just seems kind of unfair to keep people standing outside. And I know we don't have the long lines that we did previously, but the public seems to have adapted to the requirement to wear masks and keep the distance. And it seems like we're providing a better quality of service if we're able to allow them to come inside, especially during this time of year when it's cold. That's all I've got.
Councilor Boersma, I think if I may, I'll give a partial response to that. That was actually one of the elements that I inquired of the governor's office after they rolled out the new Healthy Start or the new framework that's just been put into place. It didn't offer much specificity, frankly, for government services, operations. We have similar questions coming in around when can we begin entertaining, begin conducting court in the chambers at the Law and Justice Center. What they advised was local governments are still subject to the same restrictions with regard to opening their lobbies to the public or opening their activities to in-person. As we're in place historically, we've been moved back to phase 1, and under the regulatory framework that's been put in place, governments are not supposed to be opening their lobbies or in-person activities like that to the public until we are approved to get to phase 3. And we have expressed some concern about the fact that it does seem like other entities are able to make those adaptations. We have actually already made those investments, particularly here at City Hall. We have plexiglass barriers in place between both the main lobby and the planning lobby counters. We've made those investments in expectation of being able to reopen. At this point, though, we're being told it's still not allowed. There is quite a bit of change in the new phase 1 and phase 2 compared to the way those were written up before. I think as we start regaining control of the pandemic here in the local area, we'll continue those conversations with similar adjustments and seeing if we can't get some recognition of the improvements that we've already made in order to assure better safety and get our city halls and facilities open as soon as possible.
Well, thank you, sir. That's not necessarily the answer I wanted to hear, but it is an answer, so I thank you for that.
Understood. I'm in agreement.
Okay, council members, another announcement or questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Councilor. Yeah, I've noticed a huge uptake in graffiti in town. As soon as we document it, are we covering that, or are we leaving it for a certain amount of time, or what's the deal on that?
So yes, and I was actually going to invite both police and public works to speak to that a little later, but absolutely. We got hit with a significant amount of new graffiti this past weekend. There's actually 3 different departments involved. Police, code enforcement, and public works are all responding within their areas. For graffiti, first, your question, are we documenting? There is some of that activity going on. There's a lot of important information and evidence being communicated through the graffiti. And so it is important for us to, take note of that and be able to use that in our ongoing anti-crime and anti-gang activities. That's kind of police main focus. For code enforcement, getting around to private properties and helping them with doing that. Frankly, very frustrating aspect of this is code enforcement just had spent much of last week with a community service, an individual who'd been assigned community service and had substantially cleaned up a lot of the graffiti. And then much of that individual's work was tagged over again already this weekend. And so that's something we'll have to get back to. There's a couple of spots where city property was tagged, and that's where Public Works comes into play. The most visible, I think I'm aware of, is both sides of Stackhouse Bridge were hit. We did attempt and look at actually painting that over immediately this weekend after we got photos documenting it. Unfortunately, the weather conditions were such that the paint was not going to adhere or wasn't going to work. We looked at seeing if we could heat up the surface in some way, but most likely what we'll do is hit it on Wednesday when the weather conditions are going to be at their best this week to be able to successfully paint that over and get that fully covered.
Do we have any cameras we could set up in our high hit areas, and that way we'll have video proof of who's doing it, or is that not
I'm not aware if we have any cameras, mobile cameras, or of that type. The police may have some. I'm not sure. Chief, if you're still there, you are. Is that a technique or set of tools that we have available?
It's definitely a technique. It's something that we'd like to see some investments in, are higher quality and things that are made specifically for that, especially censored. We are playing around with a couple of options at the moment. So hopefully we're able to kind of hone those in and make that a little more available in our investigative use.
Yeah. One of the challenges I know from my past experience overseeing the program that handled Capitol Campus security and access systems in Olympia was that we had many cameras. This is back a decade ago, but the resolution of them, unless you have a high enough resolution that a court of law is going to accept it as evidence, as conclusive evidence, the camera really some of the cameras out there just aren't that helpful. So the chief's absolutely right. We've got to have be applying the right camera or the right camera technology that has the adequate resolution for us to actually be able to bring that in as evidence and use that in our investigations. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any additional council members with reports, announcements, or questions?
Yes, this is Councilor Farmer. I was CC'd on a couple of emails that went to City Hall regarding the campers. And the substance of those emails were, those cars are just there for storage right now. There's nobody living in them. Also, there was an article in the Yakima Herald regarding some enforcement that was done, I believe, in Seattle regarding these. Where are we at on that particular part right there?
So the circumstance in Seattle was substantially different. We had looked at that and what they were able to do. There was a sweep of an encampment at what's called Cal Anderson Park. There were, I believe, nearly 100 individuals residing at the park and had been for many months. There had been 2 at least two previous sweeps of that park during 2020, and police had documented numerous violations of health and safety requirements, including prohibitions on open fires. And they had also substantiated extensive criminal activity to and including serious assaults. The attempt to sweep that park was initially challenged in court, but the basis for the challenge was on allegations that that it constituted a protest and therefore was a free speech activity. The judge essentially ruled against them on that basis, did not find it to be a free speech activity, although was somewhat concerned that the city was proceeding with this sweep right in the middle of the holidays. But we have looked at that, and the fact pattern there is substantially different. With regard to whether the vehicles are being occupied on a consistent basis or not, because it has been established that they are used periodically as essentially as residences, that even if they are temporarily, or as some of the social services agencies have been able to do, provide them some temporary vouchers. They've stayed in a few other locations, but it doesn't essentially relieve us of the knowledge that these are being used essentially for both storage and habitation. If we were to remove them, as I mentioned earlier, if we were to proceed with removal, the steps we know so far that we would have to take is it'd have to be in response to enforcement of an element of the ordinance. And I've asked the attorneys to look at what's our strongest set of tools for being able to most defensively remove the vehicles. If we do remove them, we're responsible for providing, I believe, at least 72 hours notice, if not more. We're responsible for providing for the storage, maintenance of their personal belongings, and for the return of them. And because it's been established they've been used at least, partly for habitation, or at least part-time for habitation, that we're not allowed to impound them permanently or to have the vehicle sold at auction by the tow yard. We would have to return them to them. And all of that would essentially be at the city's expense. So we've asked for kind of a clear roadmap of what's the most defensible way and the process steps we need to follow in order to try to move this thing along.
Can we not tow them to one of the city-owned lots that is chained and secured, so we don't run into the expense of paying a tow yard or a tow facility their storage fees?
If we were to tow, we would still need a tow service to come and tow them, and I'm not sure. I'd have to double check. We'll follow up with the police chief on that, but I believe we have I have to double check our ordinance and the process on that. It may be already specified how we have to do that, but we'll follow up on that.
Okay, and the next question I have is regarding the possibility of an interview on your job performance coming around the end of this month. Doing it in person instead of online. I don't understand why we cannot. There's only going to be 7 people there. We can go to church, we can go to Walmart. I can give you 2 governmental entities right now that are holding meetings together. They are not doing it via Zoom. Is there any way that we can do this that way?
As far as meeting, does this fall under the governor's rule that bodies of government cannot meet, Mr. Casey, since this is an executive session and open meetings?
Our understanding has been that has been primarily focused on the public meetings of councils, that they are not essentially allowed to have an in-person public meeting. The clerk and I can double check any interpretations that have come out or applications of that. MRSC has been providing quite a bit of guidance and analysis into that. I think there have been questions raised about executive sessions but even an executive session, you start the meeting in public, you go into executive session, and then you announce at the end of it whether action was taken or not. And so there still needs to be a publicly accessible mechanism, even though most of the conversation is in closed session.
So I was thinking that our community center, the basketball court area, that would be big enough for us to be, even 10 feet apart from each other inside that building. We would need to definitely speak up, loud to be able to hear each other sometimes. But I think if there's a way for us to do it, if the rest of council is in favor of that, I will have no problem with it. Again, I am comfortable with Zoom and technology, so I don't have a problem with meeting this way. But I completely understand, obviously, Councilor Farmer's point of trying to meet and as a group whenever possible. So if there's a way for MRSC maybe to give us some guidance if that's even a possibility, because obviously you're saying that we do have to have an opening and closing for our even executive session. So if we give some guidance on that, and if it's possible, then if the community center is available, that might be an option. And if not, at least we'll plan for the date and time. And if that's a possibility, then we'll do it that way. If not, we'll just move forward with Zoom.
Okay, we'll follow up.
Are we going to have a discussion about that?
We can, if you like. Councilor Restucci, what is your comments?
Well, the idea of us coming together in executive session together closely is so that we can talk about issues and things of that nature related to the manager that is not supposed to be for public knowledge. I'd have a real concern with us being on the gym floor trying to whisper to each other or talk to each other and not have it echo across the room. I'm concerned about that.
And I think in the past, we've been in a meeting where we are closed in that office, and we haven't had any at least the last few evaluations that I've been part of, we haven't had any public attend. But again,
correct. But in that room, we wouldn't meet the governor's or the health guidelines for safe distancing in that room.
Got you. Okay. Thank you. Councilor Farmer, were you going to say something?
Yeah. Hey, we can clear the building. That's easy enough done.
Okay.
If you guys want to yell across the tables and things of that nature, I'm not going to argue. I mean, I can do that. But we have to maintain social distancing.
Okay, well, we'll have our city manager look into that, see if that's even an option, and if it is, we'll give it a shot. And whoever can attend and live, we'll do that, and the rest we could do Zoom, and I'm sure we can try to arrange somehow to make that work. I'm not sure how long those laptops might be for us to be able to get them. Mr. City Manager, do you know those ones that we applied for the CARES grant?
Let me follow up on that. I knew they had arrived in December and were being configured by IT at that time. I haven't had a chance to follow up with Denton as to if where he's at in getting them distributed. So, thank you for the reminder.
Okay, so we'll aim for that. We'll aim for January 26th at 6:30 p.m. Obviously, it'll be executive session. And depending on what guidance the Mr. City Manager gets from either attorneys or MRSC or the governor's office, based on what we can do as far as executive session, whoever is not opposed to being in an open room, we can try that. And the rest of us who might want to do Zoom, we can do that. So we'll see how that turns out based on what you find out, Mr. City Manager.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could you give that date again for the executive session?
Yes, it'll be January 26th at 6:30 p.m. And I'll be sending out a Zoom invite for those who are wanting to attend via Zoom. And depending on what the city manager gets back as an answer, we might set up, a few of us to be able to attend an open space where we all are going to be able to meet the guidelines of distancing and meeting requirements. Okay, any other reports, announcements, or questions by council? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our next agenda item, upcoming council meetings. Mr. City Manager.
All right, we have a fairly full agenda for your January 25th meeting. There's a plan to issue a proclamation related to February being American Heart Month. We'll have public hearings on some annexation clarifications. The next two items, I think, are the two involved. One is off of a parcel off of Emerald Road. Another is off of is part of Yakima Valley Highway. In both instances, processes undertaken several years ago, 10 to 15, I think Yakima Highway may be even longer ago than that, years ago. It's been brought to our attention through staff review and talking with the Boundary Review Board that both of those need to be clarified. With Emerald Road, there was a parcel that was, the process was begun. The steps to get it through Planning Commission and actually through Council were initially undertaken, but it was never actually properly filed. And given the time, we need to do the hearing and get that updated. The Yakima Valley Highway appears to be kind of a Scrivener's error in the mapping. When parcels in and around the area of Sunnyview Park and C-Spec Motors and all that were annexed many years ago, some documents indicate that the stretch of Yakima Valley Highway in there was supposed to be annexed. Some documents show it. Other documents don't actually have the highway itself being annexed. So there's discrepancy, and the Boundary Review Board just needs us to take action clarifying that that portion of the Yakima Valley Highway that we've long assumed was in Sunnyside is in fact in Sunnyside. There's a rezone proposal for a small kind of triangular shaped parcel back behind commercial and residential that actually doesn't even have road access to Lincoln Avenue, but that's the nearest street. It's kind of an island. There's a proposal to have that rezoned consistent with the zoning around it. So all of those items are coming from Planning Supervisor Shuttleworth. Then the topic we discussed earlier this evening, the Catholic Charities upsizing agreement, Director Fisher will be bringing you an update on that and possible action there. And then lastly, the port is pursuing a lease of some city land for hangar project. They've learned they need to have this lease in place in order for the Department of Commerce to release some grant funds that were ordered for them to develop it. So their attorneys are working on a first draft lease proposal, and we're waiting to see that, and then we'll bring that forward to council. We don't yet have topics identified for the February 1st workshop, which is your next meeting after that. Certainly open to council members submitting ideas either to me or through the mayor. And that's, and then you do see we're anticipating a COVID-19 emergency declaration at the end of February. We'll work on that as we get closer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Casey. And up next, we have items from city manager and department heads.
All righty. I'll start with actually that last topic, COVID-19. I regrettably have a lot of new numbers to share since council's last regular meeting just under a month ago. When you met, let's see, that was December 14th of 2020. Since then, in just under a month, the United States has recorded about 6.1 million new cases of COVID-19 to exceed 22.5 million in total. We're currently averaging about 250,000 new cases a day. I heard a statistic on the radio today, 2 people are dying a minute. At this point, about 130,000 Americans are hospitalized. 75,000 more have died over the last month, bringing our total death toll to 375,000. In Washington State, we've now recorded about 277,000 cases and 3,700 deaths. And as tragic as that is, and as bad as that sounds, we still have about the 5th best per capita performance on infections of any state in the nation. Unfortunately, in Yakima County, the situation is rather different. We have lost all of the progress that we gained over the summer and again have some of the worst infection, hospitalization, and death rates in Washington State. Since December 14th, when you last met, Yakima County has added nearly 5,700 new COVID-19 cases to reach 23,256 cases as of tonight. 44 more county residents have died in the last month, bringing us to 320 deaths in total. As I mentioned earlier, the state released a new Healthy Washington Roadmap to Recovery. They released it that last week. Under this framework, the reopening phases 1 and 2 have been reworked. A lot more retail and business activity are permitted at reduced levels in phases 1 and 2 than were permitted under the old structure. Although certain activity like indoor dining is still restricted in phase 1. The other thing the state did is reworked the model so it's not county by county, but is based on kind of regional figures. And Yakima County is now part of a region with Kittitas, Benton, Franklin, Walla Walla, and Columbia counties. Given that Yakima County and the Tri-Cities have among the most severe instances or rates of infection and hospitalization, by being grouped with Kittitas, Walla Walla, and Columbia counties, which have much better numbers, it actually helps us potentially move forward more quickly under this plan. Each region will be evaluated weekly against a set of progress metrics, health statistics, and then on Fridays, the State Department of Health will announce if regions will move to a different phase effective the following Monday. So they're trying to be more responsive to timely adjustments to this framework. So all of the state right now started out in phase 1, and working with the city clerk, we've already posted information on the city's website about our affected services. Like other employers in the area, our hospitals, our schools, and others, we are seeing the impacts from staff absences due to COVID-19. To put the pandemic's impact on the city in context, over the course of 2020, 1 in 5 city employees contracted COVID-19. Most were out for 7 to 10 days, but a few took nearly a month to recover. Fortunately, except for the outbreak at our Law and Justice Center in May, none of the infections appear to have been workplace related. Even so, at any given time right now, we're seeing 3 to 5% of the workforce having to take leave in order to observe the isolation and testing protocols because of community exposures. Very thankful and very grateful. We have not lost any of our employees to this disease, although some of our employees have lost family members. Very, very sad about, and you know, we grieve that loss. In summary, our county is seeing a devastating surge. We can work together to turn the tide. You know the drill. Wear a face mask whenever you're outside your home. Stay at least 6 feet apart from others at all times. Limit non-essential travel and gatherings with people who do not live with you. Wash your hands often. We know these aren't perfect solutions. Even so, using these tools consistently last summer helped us cut our infection rates by more than 80%. They're the best tools we have until the new vaccines can do their part. Councillor Hicks asked earlier a little bit about the graffiti. I do want to acknowledge both that, and then there is other criminal activity that's been very concerning recently. Police are continuing their investigations into the December 24th homicide on Franklin Avenue and the January 7th homicide off of Yakima Valley Highway. Police have worked very quickly and identified victims and notified their families. Crime scenes have been processed. Police have identified persons of interest and are developing their investigations. A suspect in the January 7th homicide is already in custody. Interesting, although the crime occurred here in Sunnyside, the suspect is from Mapton and the victim was from Grandview. Nationally, federal databases, Department of Justice, FBI, show a really interesting kind of paradox in trends. Overall crime rates in the United States continued to decline in 2020, with the exception of homicides. Homicides increased significantly in all regions of the country this year. That holds true in Yakima County as a whole. Analysts haven't quite figured out exactly what's going on, but some suggest that the pandemic and the associated social isolation and economic disruption are factors. But the statistics aren't really, they're not the most important context here. Each data point is a human life, a human story, and a loss to family, friends, and communities. Our officers and detectives know this and are fully dedicated to solving these brutal crimes and to preventing further violence and heartache in our community. I have been mindful of how hard they have been working of late in the midst of a pandemic and all of the other activity to try to bring swift resolution to these investigations, and I'm pleased with the progress so far, and certainly would invite Chief Escalera to comment further when we get to him, but I just wanted to praise their work up front. With that, I will turn it over to the department heads, and let's try and see who I've got here. It looks like Chief Anderson is already unmuted. So if you'd like to begin, Chief.
Okay, all right. Good evening. I just have one thing of importance. Back in December, I guess we didn't really meet towards the end of the month. So back in December, we went through civil service testing to create a new firefighter eligibility list for both firefighter EMT and firefighter paramedic. And then with the position that was approved through council in the 2021 budget, we were able to offer a conditional offer of employment to one of our volunteers, Nathan Heed. Nathan comes to us with, he was a volunteer since this summer with Sunnyside, but he's also has 2 years of being a volunteer firefighter and EMT with West Valley Fire Department up in the Upper Valley. Nathan grew up in the area. He lives up there with his family. And I think he's going to be an exciting opportunity, and we look forward to hiring him. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Escalera.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Yes, City Manager had definitely discussed what I was going to talk about today, and I do want to really showcase what our detectives, our officers, our crime analysts, our administration, everybody who's been on board with working on solving the homicides. Not only that, but the stolen cars that we've had here lately, and the ones that have been recovered, and the burglary issues and the gang issues, and it's just been compounding. And our folks have done an amazing job of remaining steadfast in the course of moving things forward. With many of them only with a couple hours of sleep a day and coming back out. So it is significant, it takes a significant toll, on us and on the staff. And I just want to take my hat off to those guys that are working hard in order to work with the public, which we definitely have a great rapport with. And they have really helped us out in seeking leads and moving forward with these investigations. So we're definitely in need of more resources, of course, and in order to help out some of the issues that we have going on in the city. But but we are moving forward. We are progressing in these investigations and try to get a hold of things and identify individuals. Working with the state crime lab, they've been very good to us and expediting our requests as we've been moving a lot of evidence their way. So they've agreed to put us on a priority and get some information in front of us as soon as possible. We've also been working with other cities and assisting other cities, and I had 3 of my folks respond to the Yakima incident where the 2 officers were run down and shots were fired. So they worked, they assisted YPD with that, and still came back, picked up right where they left off at 11:30 at night, and kept forging forward on our investigation. So with that, our guys are doing great, and again, the connection with the community, and they're working towards getting these things solved. Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Fisher?
Yeah, I really have nothing more to report tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Clerk Renteria?
I don't have anything either.
Very good, thank you. All right, Mr. Mayor, that concludes the department head reports.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. And there being no further business to come to before council, and without objection, I adjourn this meeting at 8:16 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr.